The hungriest organ in your child's body is the brain. Fed well, the brain will flourish. Fed badly, it will languish. Children with neurological disorders are in greater need because their ability to digest and assimilate nutrients and remove toxins is affected by their abnormal breathing. Brain-injured children, just like other children, need energy, mental clarity, powers of concentration, strength and stamina, bright eyes, clear skin, and good elimination. Acidic, sugary, fatty, processed foods make children sick and tired. The nastiest consequence of these foods is that they ferment and putrefy in the body and feed acid-loving enemy inhabitants of the gut, such as bacteria, yeast, mould and fungus. Children with poor breathing are more at risk because waste acids left over from cell metabolism are normally changed to carbon dioxide and exhaled. Shallow breathers cannot achieve this so well, so more toxic acids remain in the body tissue. Poor breathers also have less efficient livers, which means the cooked fats in formula, cakes, biscuits and other processed goods will clog up the brain's capillary system. Unfortunately, especially for children with cerebral palsy, hospital dietitians are more interested in prescribing foods to fatten up their bodies rather than to nourish their brains. Parents are often advised to provide meals heavy in bad fats and sugars, such as chips, cakes, full-fat meats and cheeses instead of a healthy spread of vegetables, extra virgin olive or flaxseed oil, whole grains, fish, or a little organic chicken with snacks of fresh berries or avocado, warm thick veggie soup or juices, almond butter, rice cakes, yeast-free bread and so on. Worse still are the infant and gastronomy formula that are full of dead fatty, sugary foods, addicting children to their sweetness and starving the brain of its vital energy supplies. According to The New Scientist, 25th May 2005, junk food is implicated in a slew of serious mental disorders. The weak stomach of the cerebral palsy child is soon overburdened with the act of digestion and the toxins that are produced, and of course diet-induced acid reflux. Added to which, if weaker breathers have heavier bodies, there is even less oxygen to go around and the brain misses out again. So why impose this diet on our children? Knowledge is power, and nutritional knowledge is power to the brain. Read up on nutrition wisely and rejoice in your child's new energy, health and happiness.
I'd like to thank you all for coming along today, and I think it's very important that we as a group are discussing things like this, subjects that Francis has brought up today, because the money system is very important to all of us. Obviously it's relevant to all of us, and as Francis says, just by our very breathing we're involved with it. So what I'd like to talk about today is how we can make changes on the front of our bodies. So if you think about 90 to 95% of us and our family members are going to be knocked down by illnesses related to metabolic problems, which are food related, or toxic overload. So the things that you can do, just from a basic perspective, are sorting out your personal care products, your cleaning products, and what you put into your body. So you might be aware of, okay, you're not going to be sitting there drinking some bleach, but you might be cleaning your house with it. You might be using a little bit of domestos or something like that, thinking it kills mould because you can't see it anymore, but in actual fact all it does is cover it up. Something simple like vinegar will kill your mould. So your personal care products, let's talk about perfume. We all, well, perhaps used to use it. I don't know if anyone still uses it here now, but there is no safe perfume on the market at all. And a couple of seconds after you spray that onto your body, it has reached every major organ, and you're affected by that. And you're around people who are also wearing it, and you might put on a little bit of Lynx or something like that for the ladies. And it's quite easy to be using this as a part of your daily routine and not realising that everything you put into your skin goes into your body. So as far as our strength and our immunity, we've got our skin as a first layer. That's an excellent form of protection to some extent because it is porous, so everything goes in there to your bloodstream if it can pass through. But 60 to 70% of your immunity is actually controlled by your stomach and what goes into your stomach. So if you want to have a strong immunity and be one of those perhaps 10%, 5% who avoid coming to a slow and painful end because of metabolic dysfunction or a toxic overload, you want to really think about what's going in and how you're looking after your stomach. So a little bit about me. I went vegetarian at about the age of 15 for animal rights reasons, which seemed very, very relevant to me at the time. I wasn't concerned too much about health. That was more an aside. I worked on the food pyramid because that's what I learnt in home ec, where lots of grains are good. You have your fruit, veggies, and then a bit of dairy and meat up the top. So I thought the fact that I'm not having dairy and meat, that probably puts me in a good standing. I was having a bit of dairy at that stage, and it eventually crept up to be a lot more. So fast forward about 15 years, I was still probably healthier than most people that I knew and eating better than most people that I knew, but I wasn't getting any results anymore. So it sort of plateaued, and I'd heard that, women in their 30s, they're peaking, it's wonderful. But where to from there? I was starting to feel tired again and run down. And I've got a little girl, so I could explain it away with just being a mum. But I thought there's more to that, because I don't feel old. So then why am I tired? And why do I feel like I'm getting older? I really wanted to look into that. And I kept coming across a woman by the name of Remedy Bliss who puts in these raw food workshops for beginners like myself, just introducing concepts, raw food concepts. And I thought, okay, I'll go along and see what she has to say. And she introduced me to the wonders of green smoothies, which is what I want to share with you today. So why green smoothies, really? I mean, a lot of us might think, okay, we'll have a salad or something like that. I'll get a bit of this and a bit of lettuce and some tomato and whatnot. Great, sure, but you're not going to get as much green in your diet as you will from a green smoothie. These little things, this dark green leafy kale, this beautiful leaf here, is a powerhouse of nutrition. Like, you want to have rocket fuel, don't bother with coffee, start on something like this and get lots of it into you. Raw food aficionados, if you like, because it is a very big movement now. It's caught on a lot quicker than organics. Raw food aficionados will talk about the biophotons in the food, which is the little bit of light that comes off from the DNA and absorbing that into your body, and that's great. And live food is, raw food is full of life force. Scientists, from what I've read, tend to differ and just say, well, it's a metaphysical judgment, essentially. You can't say this is full of life force. But what you can see, I think, is when you see people who eat these raw foods, who have a lot more raw food in their diet as opposed to the 40% animal protein and 100%, just about 100% cooked diet that a lot of us in Australia and the world have. Well, perhaps not third world countries, but certainly in the Western world. We're not getting that life force. Like, you can't look into someone's eyes and say, oh, they're bright and sparkly and healthy often enough if they're just eating cooked food or they're eating heaps of animal protein. But what you will see, if you look at someone who is on a predominantly plant-based diet, especially with raw and living foods, you'll see that glow in their eyes and the brightness and the shine on their skin. And I think that goes a long way to giving evidence in favour of these sort of foods, because it's all about how you feel, and that old saying, you are what you eat, is very relevant. So whatever you're putting in, you're getting out. You want to put crappy fuel into your sports car, it's not going to run well. But if you want to run like a sports car, you get onto these little babies. So what I would like to point out is that if you look at chimpanzees, where we share about 94% of our DNA, okay, what's different? Well, clearly our lifestyle, but chimpanzees, they have about 100% raw plant-based diet, and we have, as I mentioned, about 100% cooked diet. So we're not really getting what we need, and we're feeding this kind of stuff to our pets as well. And funnily enough, our pets are the only animals in nature who are coming up with the same kind of lifestyle illnesses that we've got, cancer, arthritis, that kind of thing. You don't see that out in wild animals so much, if at all. And I remember reading something recently about, well, our ancestors, they ate lots of plant food and all that kind of stuff. Well, from what I understand, Neanderthal man was found to have a very high meat diet and was riddled with arthritis. So it's sort of, if you look at history as well, far back history, you can see that plant-based foods do us favours, and a lot of animal protein doesn't seem to do that. So, and I don't want to convince you today that going vegetarian is the answer, but I would like to convince you that putting green smoothies into your diet or something like that will fast track you to the energy levels of where you want to be. And not only do you get the energy physically, but you get the clarity of your mind. And when you start with raw food, it's like opening a window and being able to see a different perspective. And as Francis says about thinking and talking and getting out there, if you want to be open to new ideas, have a clear head, be open to them. Listen to the languages of plants. I mean, plants, they do some amazing things. You see the ribs on this Swiss chard here, right? They look a bit like veins. This stuff is great for your blood. This, as it looks, is what it is. So if you want a really good blood tonic, you get something that looks like veins and like that particular system. You want to go for something that helps your eyes. You want to cut up a carrot and open it and see what it looks like when it's cut in half. It looks just like an eye, and they're wonderful. Not only for, they can help you see in the dark, but really they do make a big difference. Tomatoes. Tomatoes look like the chamber of a heart, and it's well known that tomatoes, the lycopene in tomatoes, are fantastic for issues with the heart, cardio problems. Have celery that looks like our bones. The celery is full of a good amount of salt, and it does give you strong bones. You're not going to get that from drinking milk from a cow. A cow gets strong bones by eating grass. Milk, essentially, is made for a baby cow with a lot of stomachs. We've only got one, and it doesn't necessarily agree with us, a lot of us, and certainly not a lot of milk. So if you're going to go thinking, geez, I'm really tired, I might just get a mother or maybe a nice coffee, that might do it. It's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to make you feel more tired and sluggish, and all that builds up into your body. And eventually, when it comes to things like energy drinks, when you're stressing out your adrenals as much as you are, it's going to catch up. You can only go and push so far for so long. But with things like green smoothies, you can keep going, and you can keep going to the next level and the next level. And once you acquire a taste for this kind of things, you're not going to be as inclined to crave your sugary things. You're not going to feel like you need to have a coffee or a mother or something like that. So with that in mind, let's get started. A few things that you might need. Well, you want to need your greens for starters. And what I've got today, seeing as we're probably first timers as far as green smoothies go, I've stuck with things that aren't too bitter, and they're pretty easy to get hold of. So we've got some cos lettuce, some Swiss chard or rainbow chard, and some of Beata and Arnie's beautiful kale, Cavolo Nero. This stuff is gold. If you can grow it in your garden, I highly recommend it. And I've also got here some violet leaves, because Betty has a lot of violets in her garden. She's very kind enough to let me harvest them. As an alternative to having store-bought produce, if you don't have a lovely vegetable patch, you can go and visit your neighbour or your own backyard and find some of these little beauties, which look a little bit limp now, so I do apologise for that. They were beautiful about 10 minutes ago. We have things like prickly lettuce, which you'll know from the sharp brown, well, they're not too sharp, but the prickles down there. This is a young one, so you can pop it straight into your smoothie, or a salad even if you want to, while it's quite young. It's very hardy in the sun, so if you're looking at cultivating a lot of lovely lettuce in summer and trying to keep it alive, you probably won't have a lot of luck without a lot of water, but this will actually thrive in the sun. It's actually just starting to come up now. It's more a summer weed than a winter one, but you'll see as the season goes on they'll get bigger and bigger. We have some mallow here, another one you might have seen growing by a lot of railway tracks. Yeah. It seems to love the nice dry, hard areas. That's alright. Then we've got some stinging thistle here, and hopefully I rinsed it enough. This stuff is gold. Herbalists get very, very excited about this. You can do just about anything with it, from hair conditioner to making beer, apparently. Nettle tea is very easy to make. A bit of hot water and nettle, no problem. You know how it's sharp and spiny. I'm assuming most of you've been perhaps stung or been warned to stay away from it. Pop it in a bit of water. So give it a good soak, and that should calm down the sting. And I have to say that I still did get a bit of a sting after a bit of cold water, but if you warm the water up a bit, it can work. But this has only been put in cold water, and here I am, alive to tell the story. One of my favourites is good old Dandelion, which loosely interprets in sort of in French to tooth of the lion. This one's actually been in the direct sun, you'll see from the jagged edges, so it does look more like a tooth, but we did have another one in here that's been grown in the shade. It's not in there. Oh, there it is. You can see the tooth's a lot rounder, so they can grow just as well in either spot, but you just know to look for the same thing. They're quite distinguished by their yellow leaf, the yellow flower. It also looks a lot like cat's ear, which cat's ear has a bit more of a fuzzy leaf, and I couldn't find any today. It tends to be a bit more summery. But cat's ear essentially has all the same healing properties as dandelion, nutritional properties as well, but perhaps not as intense. So dandelion is an absolute powerhouse of vitamins and minerals. You have about 3 dandelion leaves, can be equivalent to a multivitamin tablet, which is nice and easy to take. It's great in salads. It's quite bitter if you don't mind that kind of taste, but if everyone's kind of dealing with or having a bit of mesclun lettuce now, mesclun mix from the supermarket or whatever, you know, lettuce has become a little bit gourmet, you might have more of a taste for it because it is slightly bitter. And one of my favourites, I'll show you the big one actually, Sow's Thistle. So named because livestock love it, but I love it too, so I have to fight my chickens for it. It's got a bit of a milky sap inside, but no spines. So easy to eat, easy to eat just like this, because it tastes just like lettuce. But I love them in smoothies. Use the whole lot. Use the stem, use the leaf, use the works, use the flower like this little baby. Yellow flowers, delish. Put them on your salads. Put them in your smoothies. Enjoy. What else have we got? Plantain. Pardon?
Is that calendula?
It is. Plantain. Not so pretty, but very powerful. Anyone who's got a lawn probably has plantain in their lawn. It's just about everywhere. In a lot smaller form on the lawn, but this one has been growing in a very good spot near the Luke's house, near a chair, with a bit of rust in the ground, lots of iron. Beautiful. It loves a bit of sort of the humus soil. It needs lots of nutrients if it was going to get this big, but it's very, very hardy, so you can get this stuff near the beach. And it looks a little bit more stringy, but it's wherever you want to go. Okay, so the ribs, give it the other name of ribwort. Very good for IBS. So if you have any digestive issues, it's very mucilaginous, so it thickens when you put it into water, when you put it into your smoothies. If you make a smoothie and then keep some for the next day, you're likely, if you put this in it, it'll be quite thick. So you need to add a bit of water and remix it again. They're very powerful. So we got here more to tell you about. I think we might just be able to get started. For today's smoothie, I thought that it might be a good idea just to stick with more of the well-known vegetables, greens as opposed to veggies, and the violet, thank you, Beata, and the violet. The violet, you can also use the flower. So if you're probably not getting a lot of purple food in your diet, maybe a bit of red cabbage from time to time, but the flower's great. It has all of the properties that any other purple food would have. So if you're thinking about eating the colours of the rainbow, which is a really good way to eat, and you want to grow something that's very cheap to grow because it grows just about anywhere, given the opportunity, and once it starts, it kicks in, so it'll spread, which is lovely. And you can get the purple nutrients from the flower, which is good. So, firstly, the things that you will need to make a green smoothie: a blender, a high-speed blender, if you can afford it, is a wonderful option. Most raw foodists talk about the Vitamix. They're big fans of the Vitamix blender. I don't have one, I have a Thermomix, which I absolutely love. And certainly worth, if you're going to be, as opposed to say getting an iPhone, you might want to think about investing in a high-speed blender if you're going to make green smoothies a part of your diet, because it really is a good investment. And I use my blender a couple of times a day, easily. The Thermomix, you can actually warm food up to 37 degrees. So if you're having a raw soup, which needs to be under 42 degrees, because that's apparently when enzymes start dying off, you can have a raw soup at 37 and it's easy enough to do. So you just whiz it and it warms up a little bit. Okay, so what I would generally do, I'd start with the fruit, which today we're going to use pineapple. And I chose pineapple because it's so juicy and sweet and yummy. And yellow food, food of happiness. So if you're feeling down, get some yellow food into you. Even if it's a soursop leaf, it's better than nothing. But mangoes preferably, or a bit more orange, but very good. Okay, so we'll put... I'm going to make a bit today so we can all have a try, and I'm hoping that all of you will try some today, if you game. Alright, so let's start with... So I'm going to put a little bit of citrus in it because it just makes it nice and sweet. Always put some lemon in because it's a great, not only the vitamin C, and it makes your body very alkaline, which is what we want, because an acidic environment opens the way for any sort of disease. If you're not feeling too good, chances are your body is quite acidic because you've made yourself a breeding ground for bacteria and viruses. That's what it loves. Okay, so we're nearly done with these. Oranges are very yummy, but they are very sweet, so you don't want to be going crazy on them. However, it's a lot better having a squeezed orange than the rubbish that you get from the supermarket in a bottle that's probably been boiled, dried and then reconstituted again. Okay. Bit of lemon juice, orange juice. Let's add some water. You generally want to make, just when you're starting, 70% fruit to 30% greens. You don't want to go too hardcore too quick because you probably won't like it. And you want to stay away from sulphurous veggies or sulphurous leaves like nasturtium and rocket and radishes and that kind of thing, because they're pretty horrible to drink actually. Beautiful in salads, really good for you, but horrible to drink. Unless you acquire a taste for them, but I haven't at this stage. Okay, bananas make a lovely smooth consistency to a smoothie. So it's not just like a juice. No one's allergic to bananas, are they? No. Hopefully not. No. And why smoothies instead of juices? Well, there's a few reasons that I'm a bit of an advocate for them now. About 10 years ago, I spent a lot of money on the slow pressed juicer that got me a lot of juice out of not too many veggies. But it took a long time to juice everything, so everything had to be cut up small, and then I had to clean it up. So once I'd had kids, time was of the essence. And juicing, you use a lot of veggies or fruit for not as much output. So even if with the slow pressed juice, you're getting rid of a lot of the roughage. So I just give it to my dogs, which is all wonderful, but that's not going inside. So you're not having the intestinal broom effect that you're getting from a smoothie, where you're getting the whole plant in there. Also, with all that extra fibre, you get less of a sugar spike. Juice can give you a bit of a sugar spike. And then of course then comes the crash, and then you want to have something sweet and that kind of thing. You won't get as much of a sugar spike with smoothies. And certainly once you acquire a taste for the bitterness, I'm planning to not make a bitter one today, but the more you have them, you will find that the more you get it, you acquire a taste for the greens, which is quite lovely. So you want to go further. You want to see how far you can get while still being able to drink it and enjoy it, I find. And there's certainly people out there who don't bother with the fruit at all. They just have the greens and the water. So the equivalent of, say, 2 heads of cos lettuce in the morning, which might seem like a far out place to be right now, especially if the thought of drinking anything green doesn't really appeal to you. But it's definitely doable. And after about 12 days of these babies in the morning, I'm not saying for all of your meals, you'll probably find that your body craves it, which is a very nice feeling to have, as opposed to craving a cherry ripe or something like that. And the day can feel a bit lost without one. So let's get cracking. A little bit more. We might just put, I think we'll just do the fruit first. A little bit of salt, so you need your fruit, you need some salt, Himalayan rock salt, pink salt, 82 minerals in here, beautiful for you. It's nothing like the iodised table salt that'll cause your body no end of grief. This stuff is amazing. If you've ever got a sore throat, a little rock of this, if you get it in the not so ground up form, just suck on that little bit of salt, have a glass of water. Don't keep it in one place, make sure you move it around because the salt burn does hurt quite a lot when you get one in your mouth and it takes a long time to heal. But yeah, it's really good, very soothing, very soothing. Okay, so just got some water, I need some ice now, hopefully this hasn't all defrosted on me. It's good to have them nice and cold to start with. In winter, if you're doing a savoury smoothie with say cucumber and avocado, you might not want it cold, you might want to add a bit of cinnamon and chilli or something like that. Pardon?
Oh, nothing. That's cute.
IKEA. These are the ones actually good for if you have a bottle of water, hopefully not a plastic one, hopefully a stainless steel one. You can just pop it straight in the mouthpiece and they go right in. Okay. This will be a little bit noisy for a little while. We're getting full. Okay. So we'll go some cos lettuce. Pardon?
Not green enough.
Oh, there's no green in there at all. Yeah, it's all yellow. Beautiful. Yeah. I'm gonna take it easy and have a bit of a taste. So I might need an actual glass if you would so mind, Beata. Thank you. Violet, a bit more kale. Looks pretty good, but very sweet, so we'll see how we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's about 30 seconds of noise, so please excuse me. I'd go greener. Does anyone want to go greener?
Yes. Okay. Green.
Yay! I love an enthusiastic crowd.
You gotta
Okay. Now, leafy greens are really high in cellulose, so they're not as easy for the digestive system to break down, which is one of the reasons why having a green smoothie makes it really easy for you to absorb the nutrients, which is what we want. We want it in our body quicker, giving us lots of energy, lots of strength, healing us from the inside. So instead of waiting for the change without to happen, start with the change within. So I've found with people who drink a lot of, or who eat a lot of raw plant-based, or have a high plant-based diet, tend to develop qualities that seem to have a lot more empathy. They big hearts, open hearts, not as much fear of everything that's in the world, and I think that goes a lot towards what they're eating. So if you fill yourself with angry, scared cows, you're gonna feel like an angry, scared cow. But if you got something like this little baby, this prickly lettuce, which in its day was strong and fresh and vibrant and full of life, well then you're going to get that. Okay, let's try this. Oh, that's beautiful, but I think we should go further. Is anyone up for more green? All right, let's go. We're going to do the lot. We're going to do the lot. Okay.
So do you have this for breakfast in the morning?
Every day.
Does it suit you?
It does, yeah. I can go till about, say, 11 o'clock. Bearing in mind, I had a very sweet tooth before I started on the green smoothies. So getting to 11 o'clock without anything else was a bit of a miracle for me, because I certainly used to love my toast and my butter with lashings of honey and a cup of tea with honey and everything else like that. So, pardon? Oh, absolutely. I'm a big advocate for Luke's Yummy Honey. That is the brand that I prefer. All right, so a little bit longer just to get these greens broken down, and then we're okay. And the beauty of a high-speed blender as opposed to a normal blender is that it really makes everything smooth as silk. So it makes it really palatable. If you're trying to break down something like celery in a savoury smoothie, you might find that without a high-speed blender, it's a bit stringy. So perhaps just stick to the leaves as opposed to the rib of it. A few tips. Mixing fruit and veg is not a particularly good idea because there's a lot of starch in veggies, and mixed with the fruit's quite bloating. So it's not going to be as easy to digest, you're not going to feel as good about it, as in the output's not going to feel quite as good. So you can stick to any green leaf and fruit if you want to go for a sweet one. And that includes even the leaves from the broccoli. You don't want to have the flower, but you can use the broccoli leaves. Beautiful, easy, cheap. Everyone's throwing them away, but you don't need to. Okay, so is everyone going to have a go? Yeah? Okay, so I don't know how much. Did someone just go, oh, when they saw that? Juliana? I might need a little tray or something to give these out. Is this green enough for everyone? Yeah? Okay. We'll start with our 2 front row contenders.
Thank you.
So we're just getting a couple of sweet treats ready for afternoon tea, which are all raw, which means that they are essentially vegan. They haven't been treated with heat. There's no sugar in them. They're just fruit, honey, nuts, that kind of thing. Cacao, raw cacao, chock full of magnesium. You want to get this in you. The smell alone will bring a smile to your face, and you're welcome to come up and smell it later if you'd like. Coconut oil. Yes, sorry.
How do you get your protein in that?
Protein. You can get a lot of protein in just about everything you eat. Yeah, there's no need to have animal-based protein to have a really strong body. There just isn't, because it's everywhere really. It's quite prevalent. So what you'll actually find when you start having things like this, your ability to absorb minerals and vitamins, nutrients, will be a lot better, because when you eat the normal standard Australian diet, your body will be full, or your tubes, which essentially we are just tubes, will be full of a thick mucoid layer to protect your body from all the stuff that you put in there. So if you think of trying to pour a glass of water through a woolen blanket, and what comes out is what's going into your bloodstream, that's what it's like with that thick mucoid layer. You start having these babies, and you start increasing your diet to say more plant-based raw food, the mucoid layer comes away because you don't need it as much as a form of protection. So then what you're putting in, you'll absorb a heck of a lot more. So you'll find that you won't need to eat as much because you're getting all your nutrients, your body's absorbing it, and you'll get those energy levels that you really want to have. And certainly when it comes to cravings, think about if you walk past a photocopier store, do you feel like going in? Like, oh, got to go in there. God, yeah, really must. You walk past a bakery, smell of bread, oh, got to go in there. It's a craving, it's an addiction. So if you want to turn your addictions around and make them something like this, it's very easy to do. And you can just start with a green smoothie in the morning, a salad with your lunch, salad with your dinner. Your dinner might be some animal protein, some boiled eggs or a steak or whatever it is that you're still having. And just by doing that, you will feel the turnaround, and your body craves this. It's what it wants. It knows what it needs. If you give your body the opportunity to heal, it will do it itself. So nothing that we do, nothing that we take as far as a drug, any pills to get our blood pressure down or anything like that, they're not going to make us better, because they don't allow the body to heal itself and to correct its functions. This stuff does. And your weeds are going to be free, really. A couple of things to say when it comes to harvesting the weeds. Don't go within, say, 4 foot of an old house that's been painted with lead paint. You don't want those weeds. You don't want anything that's by a train line, although you can have some beautiful bits of thistle and mallow, because for about 100 years they've had a heavy load of pesticides on them. Another thing to avoid is weeds near highways, because you get all the stuff from the cars or their grease and what that kind of thing just filters down into the soil around there. So you're going to be essentially ingesting that. And I guess stick with sources that you know. If you've got a regular trail that you walk along, then you don't seem to see any sprayers out there. Look, I go and harvest them from there. I have no problems getting tall weeds from there because my garden has been stripped dry of weeds. There aren't any weeds anymore. I've eaten them all. And you'll probably find that in South Australia we have so many edible weeds. Like most of our common weeds are edible, and I certainly encourage you to look it up yourself on the internet if you don't have access to herb books. Just simply doing edible weeds South Australia or edible weeds Adelaide will get you the information that you need with pictures, just in case you can't quite remember what's what. Get onto websites like that, educate yourself, enjoy what's free and what's available, and I don't know if anyone here still puts poison on their garden, but I'd encourage you not to, because you can eat just about anything that's they're growing there, but just do your research. Yeah, don't go eating hollyhocks and foxgloves because you will get sick. Very sick. Look, I don't have a problem with soursop. I've eaten them all my life, really, especially as a kid. And I encourage my daughter to do so as well. She doesn't like it, but I'm quite happy to say, oh, look, a pretty yellow flower. How lovely. I love eating yellow flowers, in case you haven't noticed. Nasturtium flowers are another beautiful peppery flower that you can enjoy that grows like the clappers.
Do you know ones that you shouldn't eat? You know.
A couple of I can't think of any offhand, but I think that's because I've done more of my research on what to eat, so that's where my attention goes. And it's certainly, like, I cannot walk past any sort of nature strip and not look at the edible options in there. It just becomes second nature. It's like hunting down the organic store in your neighbourhood. I'm going to know where it is no matter where I am because my eyes are open to it. Other people may not have a clue because it's just not in their it's just not on their register right now. So I'd certainly encourage just getting out into your garden and having a little look, seeing what's around and making the most of it. So essentially anything that you put into your stomach is going to come back up to your head because it's all connected. What you feed here feeds your head. So if you want to open your level of consciousness and be more aware of what's going on around you and what you can do to stop feeling powerless in this world, I encourage you to look at your diet for starters, because at a grassroots level, that's what you can do to make a difference in this world. So now I'd like to conclude and thank you all for coming along and introduce to you to my new snacks, my lovely sweet snacks, which are, as I said, sugar-free, vegan, raw. You can have as many of them as you like, and until you've reached your point of no return and still feel good. So thank you all for coming along today.